My name is Stephen Albrecht, and I'm a candidate for graduation at Boise State University, where I've been studying for a master's degree in educational technology. I started the program in the summer of 2010, and I'll graduate in May of 2012. Welcome to my EdTech portfolio. Before I share some of my work with you, let me share a little of my background. After completing a term of enlistment in the Air Force, I enrolled at the University of Connecticut, where I earned a BA and an MA, both in English. I've been teaching English at Westbrook High School since 1997. Westbrook, with just 300 students, is one of the smallest public high schools in the state of Connecticut. When I began teaching, a chalkboard was at the center of my classroom. Today, I use an interactive whiteboard, and I share a laptop cart with a few members of my department. In addition to my teaching, I serve as curriculum leader for my department, and recently, I was named chair of the district's technology committee, a responsibility for which BSU has prepared me well. During the course of my BSU journey, I've learned many things. I most value 3 experiences. First, learning how to create web pages. Second, practicing technology integration. And third, studying evaluation and leadership. Together, these things have transformed my classroom in many ways and opened doors to new responsibilities. Let me explain. Creating web pages is not a simple business, but EdTech 501 helped me to unlock the mysteries of HTML and CSS. This class began with an introduction to writing code, and I produced a series of web pages that reflect increasing skill and sophistication. To begin, I created a simple web page that includes links to the various projects I was assigned for class. It's nothing fancy, just a page with a colored background and a list of links. Behind the scenes, however, one can see the code that actually makes the page work. Before I began class, this would have looked to me like alphabet soup, but thanks to BSU, it now makes sense as a bulleted list. Subsequent pages introduced new content and skills, including CSS and style sheets. While learning about netiquette, I also practiced creating callouts. While studying accessibility, I learned to create hyperlinks. Exploring copyright allowed me to try my hand at creating custom bullets. The concept map assignment helped me to introduce my students to transcendentalism, but it also taught me how to create a banner. The first page for which I felt real pride was my 1920s jigsaw. I designed a web page that involved a common student grouping strategy and pre-selected content to expedite students' learning. The jigsaw invites students to explore aspects of life in the 1920s as a means to creating background knowledge while reading The Great Gatsby. Students explore such topics as flappers, jazz, prohibition, and cars, and then teach one another what they have learned. Beyond the usefulness of this jigsaw, I was pleased with the overall appearance of the page. I had created my first table, and I had discovered Cooler, an online tool that allowed me to construct a color scheme. Creating a home page allowed me to work with free CSS templates for the first time. It saves money and leads to a professional-looking product. My virtual field trip had me writing HTML from scratch once more, and the assignment required I create several pages and incorporate a variety of media. As my students read parts of the Canterbury Tales each year, my virtual field trip introduces them to some of the places in Chaucer's text. I used a map to chart the journey Chaucer's pilgrims made. And I used images, audio files, and video to acquaint my students with some of the places in the story, including London, Southwark, Canterbury, Bath, and Oxford. It was during this assignment that I also learned the value of embed code. Learning HTML has provided a valuable skill that has allowed me to create web pages for my classroom. This website supports writing workshop students while they study research writing. Knowing HTML has also helped me to understand and manage my blog, a learning log in which I posted reflections on my BSU coursework. The classes I took at BSU did more than ask me to write HTML. They also asked that I study learning theory, design models, and practice integrating technology for a variety of purposes. As an English teacher, the applications that are most important to me are those that allow students to create, collaborate, and share their work online. During my BSU studies, I learned how to manage a blog, which has inspired me to integrate blogging in my classroom. After all, it does allow students to create, to collaborate, and to share their work online. I've introduced a free EduBlog to each of my classes. This one, called Junior Babble, serves my honors class. Before jumping blindly, I stopped to ask how blogging relates to the Common Core state standards. I found several standards that center on using technology, gathering information, exchanging feedback, and writing for a variety of purposes. When I introduced the blog to my students, I was sure to create a few simple guidelines that establish a high expectation for posting. I do assign grades for posting and replying, so a reply that looks like a text message just doesn't cut it. As my students were recently writing a research paper on the American Dream, I asked them to search online databases to find a scholarly article about the American Dream and to post a 100-word description of that article on the blog. Additionally, students had to include an MLA-style citation and a link to the article so that others could read it if they wanted to. One student posted this description: "Thanks to the blog, I can check students' work online, leave a reply, like this one, and not have to carry home a stack of paper to grade. By the way, my avatar is a picture of my dog. His name is Finn." Students have also posted potential thesis statements on the blog and exchanged feedback. With our next unit, I will start asking them to post reading reflections instead of keeping a paper reading journal. Making each student's first name a category allows me to easily locate their contributions and expedite grading. BSU asked me to complete many assignments via Google, and I learned to use Google Docs, Google Forms, and Google Presentations. These turned out to be great tools for productivity and for collaboration. For instance, one EdTech 505 assignment had me using Google Docs to collaborate with 5 other students to produce a shared evaluation plan. Google Presentations has proven useful beyond the expected. For example, Dr. Perkins required all students use Google Presentations to complete a kind of online assessment that defines concepts and presents images that somehow represent them. It's a bit like creating a bunch of postcards. My favorite slides have to do with defining quantitative and qualitative data. I explained that the difference between qualitative, or narrative, and quantitative, that is, numerical data, reminds me of the ethnographer Clifford Geertz, whose essay Notes on a Balinese Cockfight demonstrates the application of qualitative methods to the study of culture. The fun occurs in selecting a picture. The one I chose to represent qualitative and quantitative data earned Dr. Perkins kudos. This kind of assessment has easily translated to my classroom, where I ask students to do something similar as a formative assessment. Each fall, my students study Gothic literature, reading stories by Edgar Allan Poe and other American authors. Before writing a Gothic story of their own, I want to know how familiar my students are with conventions of the Gothic genre. Having them use Google Forms to complete an assessment that asks them to identify common elements and to find pictures to represent those concepts is a lot more fun than completing a traditional test. My writing workshop students also use Google Docs to draft short, weekly compositions that they share with one another, exchanging feedback in the form of inserted comments. During their writing process, I can easily sign in, check their progress, leave a comment, and even provide a hyperlink to a tutorial. I especially like to use tutorials provided by the online writing lab at Purdue University as a means to helping students learn to recognize comma splices and sentence fragments. Several of my classes required I complete a needs assessment as part of an evaluation or as a necessary step in designing instruction. The laptop card evaluation project I completed for EdTech 505 taught me the importance of collecting data through observations, interviews, and surveys. Other classes, such as EdTech 501 and EdTech 554, asked me to reflect on my district's technology use plan. Together, these experiences have prepared me to accept a new responsibility, that of chairing my district's Technology Planning Committee. Once a state template was made available in January, I assembled a committee of diverse stakeholders. We met weekly through early March to write a new 3-year plan, which is now undergoing preliminary review by the state. While my BSU coursework has helped me to develop a vision for technology integration, having practiced data collection techniques has proven invaluable as the Technology Committee and I work to identify the level of technology integration and teacher technology proficiencies across the district. Given that I had already prepared a survey for this purpose in EdTech 501, I was especially grateful to expand that survey to include questions for administrators and support staff. Our data shows clear patterns of strengths and needs around which we can make recommendations for support and professional development in the upcoming school year. Using the state template, we wrote plans to achieve 5-year goals that center on using technology to provide engaging learning experiences, to facilitate assessment, to connect teaching and learning, to build capacity, and to promote productivity and efficiency. Although my BSU studies are finished, my educational technology journey is a path without end. I will soon be able to dedicate my energies to more fully integrating technology in my classroom and to providing leadership within my school and my district. In the upcoming school year, I will pilot Moodle in my classroom before it is implemented in others. I especially look forward to sharing what I have learned with my colleagues and seeing that technology is clearly and purposively integrated across our curriculum. Wherever my journey takes me, I know that technology is an ever-changing thing, one that will always offer new hills to climb and new vistas to enjoy. Thank you for visiting.